Hello and welcome to another SOLIDWORKS API tutorial. Today we are going to be looking at creating a SOLIDWORKS add-in from scratch. This is one of the most requested questions in the SOLIDWORKS API macro forum. And to do that, we are going to use Visual Studio, and we're going to be doing that in C#. So in Visual Studio here, I have a class library project. So to create a class library project like me, go to File, then go to New, then go to Project, and choose from the templates of Visual C Sharp, Windows, and then you will find it right here in the list. And then click on OK for Visual Studio to create that project. It's going to add a class, a very simple class, and I've renamed that class to add-in sample. I might as well just rename the file here to add-in sample.cs. So let's start by adding the references. So I'm gonna go to my references here, right click on it, and then click on add reference. I'm gonna add two references. The first one is SOLIDWORKS. So the first one is the SOLIDWORKS.interrupt.sldworks. This one has the SLDWorks type, the SOLIDWORKS application, and the other one is the SW published, and this one contains an interface called SW add-in, and that will help us implement a some sort of communication mechanism between the add-in and SOLIDWORKS, the application. I'm going to click on OK and watch these two get added to the references tree here. Now, in my class, let's go ahead and implement that interface. And after that, let's go to the project's properties to make a few changes. Now, I'll start by adding the using statement. So using solidworks.interrupt.sldworks and solidworks.interrupt.swpublished. Now to implement the SW add-in interface, I'll just go right in front of the class here, a colon, and then SW add-in. This is an incomplete implementation of the interface. So Visual Studio is gonna show a small light bulb that you can click on, and it's gonna say, hey, I can implement this interface for you. So we'll just ask it to implement the interface, and it's going to add two methods. The first method, sorry, is the connect to SOLIDWORKS. This one is gonna be invoked as soon as the add-in connects to SOLIDWORKS, the application, and this one when it gets deactivated, so when it disconnects from SOLIDWORKS. So we'll perform some cleanup operations here. If we have menus that need to be destroyed, this is exactly where you want to do it. And right here we want to get this parameter right here and cast it into some sort of SLDWorks type variable. So let's do that. I'll begin by defining a field of type SLDWorks. So SW app, that's going to be the name. And generally speaking, you do want a cookie integer, a cookie variable here of type int. So in case you need that, you might actually need that if you're creating menus. We're not going to be doing any menu stuff today, but for reasons of for the sake of completeness, we'll just add that integer there. Now I'll begin by setting the SW app. So SW app equal this SW as SLDWorks. The next thing I want to do is to set the add-in callback info. That's going to be 0. This is going to be as in the class, and then the cookie here. I'm just going to set the session cookie to cookie. And we are basically done here. We can add a comment. So this is where we build the menus, or rather build the UI. And we'll just leave that, and we'll simply return a true. You can put everything in a try catch block in case you want to catch any exceptions. We don't actually need that. So let's go back here and add this is where we clean up, where we rather destroy the UI. So you would want to ask for a garbage collection process here by invoking the collect method, and you can pretty much set the SW app to null, and eventually you're going to have to return something true or false. Now we have implemented the communication mechanism between SOLIDWORKS and the add-in. Before SOLIDWORKS actually can communicate with the add-in has to be registered. And the way that we can do that is we're going to have to set a few properties. So I'm going to go to the add-in project, sample properties here, and I've already changed this before to x64. By default, you're going to see this at the platform target is going to be at any CPU, and this is basically asking what architecture would you like this your application, or in our case this is going to be an assembly to be to target. Uh, when I'm developing an app in add-in for a 32-bit version of SolidWorks, I'll choose this value right here. And if I'm implementing it for a 64-bit version of SolidWorks, I'm going to be choosing the X64 here. My SolidWorks is 2016, so this is the right choice. Next, I want to go to the bottom of this list here, and then I'm going to check for register for COM interoperability. And what this basically does is that when we build the solution, Visual Studio is going to launch a utility called register assembly. This is an executable file that exists in the .NET Framework installation folder, and this is going to add a few registry entries to the Windows registries. We have, I think, we have another option to set here. If you go to the application tab, we need to make sure that our assembly is COM visible as well. And last but not least, I'm not gonna actually make any changes here, but if you want to be able to debug your add-in, then obviously you can change this to the start action to start external program, and add here the SolidWorks, the path to the SolidWorks executable. All right, now let's wrap this in a region, and let's call that region, all right, SolidWorks connection. And it's easier for me to copy the end of the region and paste it down here. And I'll just delete these two lines. Now we have to add another region for the COM register, unregister functions. And we'll simply end the region like this. And now we are going to add two methods that will be invoked by the register assembly utility executable. One is going to add the registry entries to the Windows registry, and another one is going to delete them when we clean our solution. For us to be able to use this option here in the build tab to register or for COM interoperability, you need to make sure that your Visual Studio is launched as an administrator. So let's go back to our register COM region. So I'll begin with the register COM region function. So that will be private static void register assembly. Let's call it register assembly. It's gonna receive the type of T, and it needs to be decorated with an attribute called COM register function. And this attribute is and this attribute is actually found in this namespace. So that's going to be using system.runtime.interrupt services. So that will be COM register function. All right, here we are going to define the path of the registry key. So that will be path equal to string format. We'll format that string. The why we're using format is because we're gonna be using the GUID. Every class of ecom assembly is defined by a GUID. So this class is going to be registered. So the path of the add-in of the registry key is going to be, let's add an add sign. So that's going to be software SolidWorks, right? SolidWorks add-ins, and then it's going to be 0B, and this is going to be T. All right. Now, let's create the registry key, and I'm going to go here and add another using statement. So that's going to be Microsoft.win32. Let's add a registry key, and let's call it key equal local machine. Sorry, registry dot local machine dot create subkey path. And now let's add the values of this key. So that's going to be startup in, that's going to be key set value, that's going to be null, 0, let's put it to 1, key set value again, title, add in sample, and last but not least the description of the add-in. So that's going to be description, and let's add this is a description. And we can wrap this inside a try catch block if you want. I am going to now add the other unregistered method. So that's going to be private static void unregistered assembly, and this is going to receive T. And basically we're gonna copy this, copy paste that, and instead of creating the key we are going to delete the subkey. Now we simply have to add a com unregistered function here, and for reasons of let's add something for the to our add-in. So perhaps after we connect to the add-in, we'll simply display a message whenever the user opens a new file. So new file, SolidWorks file, new notify to, click on OK here, and we'll just say SWApp send message to user, new file opened, and we'll just simply return 0, opened, new file rather created. All right. Now let's go ahead and build our add-in. So go to build and then click on build solution. Now it says that here build succeeded. I'm gonna open SolidWorks. And I'm going to go to the Tools, Add-ins, and as you can see, this is my add-in. This is my add-in, my sample add-in. It has the add-in sample as the name, rather the title, and this is a description. I'm going to click on OK. It's activated by default. So when I go and open a new part, click on OK. It should give us a message that the new file has been created. I'm going to click on OK, and I'm going to close SOLIDWORKS. If I go back here and I click on Build and then set Clean Solution, that will basically clean the solution and unregister the add-in for us. So if you go back to SOLIDWORKS, if you launch it again, and we'll try to look for it in the add-in list, so we'll see that the add-in will be gone. All right, now if I go to Tools, Add-ins, you can see that the add-in is basically gone. Now, I'm going to click on OK and close SOLIDWORKS. I think this brings us to the end of this video. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.